Every year, millions of vehicles are recalled for defects that increase the risk of fire. Some are electric vehicles with battery problems. Others are gasoline-powered vehicles with fuel leaks, electrical faults, or engine defects. In some cases, manufacturers have even warned owners not to park inside garages, not to charge their vehicles overnight, or to keep them away from buildings until repairs are completed. At first glance, the situation seems unbelievable. If a vehicle has a known fire risk, why would anyone continue driving it? The answer appears obvious. Most people would probably say they would stop driving immediately and get rid of the vehicle. Yet that is not what happens in the real world. Even after major recalls affecting hundreds of thousands of vehicles, most owners continue using them every day. School runs continue, commutes continue, family road trips continue. The question is not whether vehicles with fire risks exist. The real question is why millions of people continue trusting them. And the answer reveals something surprising about how people think, how modern transportation works, and why recalls rarely create the public reaction many expect. When people hear about a vehicle fire recall, they often assume every affected vehicle is dangerous. That isn't how recalls work. A manufacturer may recall 500,000 vehicles because engineers discovered a defect that could potentially cause a fire. However, only a tiny fraction of those vehicles may ever experience the actual problem. Consider how regulators approach safety. If engineers discover that one component has even a small chance of causing a fire under certain conditions, manufacturers are often required to issue a recall. This means the number of recalled vehicles is usually much larger than the number of vehicles that actually catch fire. From an owner's perspective, this changes everything. If a driver sees hundreds of thousands of identical vehicles operating normally every day, the danger feels distant rather than immediate. That's why many owners continue driving despite receiving warning notices. A new vehicle is one of the most expensive purchases most families will ever make. For many households, a car is not a luxury. It is essential infrastructure. People need vehicles to get to work, take children to school, visit hospitals, shop for groceries, and manage daily life. Now consider what happens when a recall notice arrives. The owner still owes monthly payments. Insurance payments continue, fuel expenses continue. The vehicle's resale value may suddenly drop. Replacing it with another vehicle could cost tens of thousands of dollars. For someone already managing a household budget, abandoning the vehicle immediately may be financially impossible. This is one of the biggest reasons recall announcements rarely remove vehicles from the road overnight. People often continue driving because they simply cannot afford another option. Most people assume recalls are solved quickly. In reality, some recalls become extremely complicated engineering projects. Manufacturers first have to identify the root cause of the defect. Then they must design a solution. That solution must be tested. Production lines must be adjusted. Replacement parts must be manufactured. Dealerships must be supplied. Only then can repairs begin. When hundreds of thousands of vehicles are involved, the process can take months or even years. This creates a strange situation. Owners are informed about a potential risk, but the solution does not yet exist. As a result, millions of people continue driving recalled vehicles simply because there is no immediate repair available. Many people assume vehicle fires only affect low-quality manufacturers. History proves otherwise. Some of the most respected automotive brands in the world have issued fire-related recalls. Luxury manufacturers, sports car manufacturers, truck manufacturers, electric vehicle manufacturers, hybrid vehicle manufacturers. The reason is simple. Modern vehicles are incredibly complex machines. A typical vehicle contains thousands of components, hundreds of sensors, kilometers of wiring, fuel systems, cooling systems, electronic control units, and increasingly sophisticated battery technology. The more complex a machine becomes, the greater the possibility that something unexpected can go wrong. This is not necessarily evidence that modern vehicles are becoming less safe. In fact, vehicles today are safer than at any point in automotive history. But increased complexity creates new challenges that manufacturers constantly work to manage. One reason many people believe vehicle fires are becoming more common is because electric vehicle fires receive enormous media coverage. When a gasoline-powered vehicle catches fire, it rarely becomes international news. When an electric vehicle catches fire, headlines often spread across social media within hours. There are several reasons for this. First, battery fires behave differently than conventional vehicle fires. Second, electric vehicles remain relatively new technology. Third, battery fires can involve a process called thermal runaway, where heat spreads from one battery cell to another. Because the technology is new and visually dramatic, these incidents attract far more public attention. However, public attention and actual risk are not always the same thing. Many drivers see viral videos online and assume every electric vehicle is at risk, even though the overwhelming majority operate without incident every day. Perhaps the most fascinating part of this story has nothing to do with engineering. It has everything to do with psychology. Researchers have long understood that humans evaluate risk emotionally rather than mathematically. People routinely engage in activities that involve risk. They drive in bad weather, they ride motorcycles, they climb ladders, they participate in extreme sports. Most people know these activities involve danger. Yet they continue because the danger feels manageable. Vehicle recalls trigger the same psychological response. A person may receive a letter explaining a possible defect, but if the vehicle starts normally every morning and performs perfectly during every trip, the brain gradually treats the warning as background noise. The longer nothing happens, the safer the vehicle feels. This psychological phenomenon explains why many recalled vehicles remain on the road for years. Another reason people continue driving recalled vehicles is trust. Major automotive manufacturers have spent decades building reputations. Consumers believe that if a problem exists, engineers will eventually solve it. That trust influences behavior. Owners often assume the company is monitoring the situation. They believe dealerships will contact them when repairs become available. They expect regulators to intervene if the risk becomes severe. Whether that trust is always justified is a separate question, but the existence of that trust helps explain why panic rarely follows recall announcements. So, why do millions of people continue driving vehicles that could potentially catch fire? The answer is not ignorance. It is not recklessness. And it is not because they do not care about safety. The shocking answer is that most owners never experience any sign of a problem. Their vehicle starts normally, drives normally, parks normally, functions exactly as expected. Every successful trip reinforces the belief that their vehicle is safe. As a result, people naturally prioritize what they experience personally over what they read in recall notices or watch in news reports. In other words, most owners continue driving because their daily experience tells them everything is fine. And for the vast majority of them, it is, at least until the day it isn't. Vehicle recalls are an important part of modern automotive safety. They identify defects, prevent injuries, and force manufacturers to correct problems before they become widespread disasters. But recalls also reveal something deeper about human behavior. People do not make decisions based solely on risk. They make decisions based on necessity, experience, trust, convenience, and cost. That is why millions of recalled vehicles remain on roads around the world every day. Not because drivers are unaware of the risks, but because life continues, bills continue, work continues, and for most owners, the vehicle appears completely normal. And that simple fact is the real reason millions of people continue driving cars that could potentially catch fire.